Good morning, John and Hallie for Gecko Parks. Now, I wanted to share real quickly with you on a video here what we have here and how I've set up the database for Gecko Parks. Because what you are witnessing here, this is Gecko Parks is actually the first company that this has been customized and set up for, which normally cost 5 to 10 times more than really what you have paid for it, and it's ongoing. So what you're about to, I won't get too deep, but I'll mention a few things. You can obviously have an Excel spreadsheet of this database. I can even hand over the controls of this database to you if or train somebody in your staff to kind of manage this. However, I was planning on doing this on an ongoing basis at no additional cost other than the cost of what it takes to maybe email these people, snail mail these people. Now, we today we would have to pay to snail mail them, but I have companies in Weston, because of the technology you're about to see, that will pay for the direct mail piece because we can kind of piggyback onto a companion business in Weston with a Gecko Parks kind of a mailer that they'll pay for. They're not compete to Gecko Parks at all, but because we control this kind of data and this kind of a software, which is a full CRM capability, as I'll show you as we go, they end up paying for all of these things for years to come. So I really developed a long-term plan for Gecko, not something that just is here today and gone tomorrow, or something that you have to continually pay for. So the value is pretty unprecedented. But let me kind of just get down to what I want to show you, and then we can go into the weeds a little bit later. So what we're looking at here now, and I'll go down here. So here's a map of Weston. This is a special color code, and it looks like it's right here, which we can find out, is married head of household with children that make 100,000 or more. Now, of course, we can kind of drill down to get closer to these people, as you can kind of see here, and they'll start populating all over Weston. So now we have much more than this, so just kind of hang tight, and then we can kind of go over the details as we go. And as these people populate throughout Weston, we can see who they are. I have a full-blown CRM. So right now we're looking at Zachary. Here's the address here, 73 on 1349 Camellia Circle. Notice we don't have the email. We can email everybody from here. However, it's a much different email program, as we discussed yesterday, since customers are treated much different than non-customers. It takes a special email capability and dashboard that usually only the large companies have, that I have access to at tremendous rates, which I kind of discussed with you yesterday. But once these people start getting added to our database, then I can track them by color. I know where they live. I know who all their neighbors are. And I know who the neighbors are who have not visited Gecko Parks yet. So I can reach out to them, reference their neighbor, and easily drive them to Gecko Parks. Now, could I hand all this over to somebody who wants to do this full-time for Gecko? Absolutely. But let's just kind of go over the basics so you can see what I've done with the Gecko database, since this has never been done for any other company. It is literally priceless what you are going to see here and witness here, and how it can be developed, because there's much more to a company than just the grand opening. We got to continue to make customers happy, know what they do, communicate with them in a relevant and a timely basis, know who's visiting, know who's not visiting, bring them in, work with them in the community, develop all kinds of things. This is a plan that goes much longer than just 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so it's a long-term plan, and there's no added fees on top of it. Now, there will be based on what you want to do, but everything is built, customized for Gecko. That's the whole point. So we can obviously filter everything. I'm going to go over the filter. So when we go right here and we click on any group here, so we have our groups here. So let's go over what the groups are. I have B2B all set up, so we can communicate with schools and with churches and everything. We have 164 different kind of business connections right now that I can reach out to. Now, business and consumers are a little bit different, but I have the contact information, and each group here we can apply a filter. So we're not just seeing the married head of household who make 100K plus, and we'll kind of illustrate that as we go. So if I wanted to communicate with B2B, I would just hit here and apply the filter, It'll probably redirect that, and then it'll populate our business kind of contacts. And we'll kind of illustrate with what they're going to do. Now this is the group here. So it overrode that group down here. So we will go down here to B2B and we will click on this group here in groups. And there's our groups. Now if we go, so what we have here, and now we can click on each one of these individual ones. So this is Cliff Sawyer for some reason. We'll find out why he's B2B, okay, because we can go down here. Here's his address. He must have a connection like with a camp or something, because we also put that in. And so we can kind of go down here and find out. And these people, there's a B2B connection here with them. And there's schools and churches also all populated. Now, when we click in and kind of drill in, we can see where the different schools and churches are and communicate with them. Now let's say we go back here now and we want to hit. We'll scroll out a little bit. So we can communicate with all of these people who are B2B, or we can go ahead and communicate with just one of them at a time. Okay, so we're going to close this section off here. Now we also here's the whole database that we have. Now we can download this. Obviously, we're going to add to this as new customers come in because we can communicate directly from this dashboard. Now I could call them, but that's also a little edgy. It's much better when you're dealing with customers to have some type of relationship with them. We can go ahead and reach out with the other dashboard. That's what I was talking about. That's for new customer acquisition. Normally, new customer acquisition, email and texting and advertising is much more expensive. Now we can also snail mail these people, but I don't think we need to do that now because in a short period of time we'll have it all covered. But anyway, here's the whole thing. We can download the data. We can communicate with anyone like the American Academy Group, or there's different country clubs and schools and all kinds of here. Like Bruce, he happens to oversee the web. So when we click on his name, it'll tell us where he is. Okay, and it'll populate who he is. And then of course I could email him if I want once he's a customer. Okay, I could do it like right now through a different dashboard, but there's a process of going back and forth. So I'm going to close off this and just illustrate how every color different populates. So let's say we wanted unknown, married or single, head of the household with 100K plus, and we happen to have 715 of them in Weston. So when we click on that, we are going to get them. There they are. So we'll click on that little thing on the actual area there because it's all compiled right there in Weston. And then it'll populate them on a different color. So now we know these people are, and we have all of these different kinds of people, and we can plot multiple colors, but it's a lot of data right now, so I'm working on speeding up the process so that we can see all the colors next to it. You can kind of zoom in into any, like you see here, and it kind of spreads them all out so we know where they're going to be located. Any kind of a one we want to continue, there they are. And when we click on his name, he goes down into the CRM. Now this is a full-blown CRM capability, so as Alexander starts visiting, I can populate his phone number, his email. I can send it right from here because now he's a customer. I can add custom notes into here. We can add custom fields by just clicking on here. So maybe he likes trampoline. Maybe he likes kids. Maybe his, as we learn more about him, we can populate that in here, or we can populate it into all this group and really start developing a relationship with our customers. And we save the edits, and when we add a group here, it'll go to everybody, but the notes that we add will be specific to Alexander with his address right here at Eagle Run Lane. So all these different color codes, and we'll kind of go back out a little bit here and kind of see that. So let's go down to a different group. We'll close off this group here, and then we'll close. So everybody in the group is all listed here so we can see them. So these are all unknown, married or single, but these are that we're not sure if they're married, but it's implied that they're married because maybe there's a head of household, a name. We're not just 100% sure that they're married. It could be that it's two people living together. So that's what that means. And here's all these people, right? And then we're going to track them and their neighbors as they come to Gecko Park and be able to communicate with them one at a time. But we need to get the park open first. And we need to establish a customer relationship with them first. It's a different dashboard for communicating with these people before the business has opened and before they come in. So now let's say we wanted to go with, we know that they're married, head of the household, and they make over 100,000 plus. We just kind of click on that, and then we'll probably see a different color populate for that. There's a different color for that. So as you can see, these are just this area here, okay? So these are married, head of household with 100K plus. There's more to it than this. So what I mentioned to you yesterday is if we really want to blow the thing out and bring in business, we have to access a completely new dashboard because these are the laws. I have both of these dashboards. I really don't know of anybody who has both because this has been custom made for Gecko. I can use it for other businesses. And when other businesses find out our capabilities here, and I don't have time to go into all of this, what we can do with contacts and email blasts, what we can do with leads and teams and tracking everybody. There's a lot of things we can do. You can see I can run a heat map. I can lasso certain groups. I don't really want to go into all the capabilities of the dashboard, but when other businesses, as we get Gecko up and running and people start coming in and we know their customers and we learn about them and then we start applying filters of their income, of their preferences, of their age, of the children, we learn more and more and more. That's what the predictive analytics is about, constantly learning. And then once we know exactly who everybody is, we can use the other dashboard and keep reaching out to our ideal demographic. But we don't know anything yet because the business hasn't opened. It's a little bit different when a business has not opened yet because there is no database for us to track against. So as they come in, this is what we're going to be able to do. And this is pretty phenomenal relationship building software. But if we were to hit everybody like this, all of these different groups that we can illustrate, we can hit everybody. We can hit 33,000 people in Weston that are exactly a target market that we may want to choose. Maybe they're all married with kids and they make 100,000. We could go 150, 200. See, we want to test out who visits most based on their income and preferences and things like that. We don't quite know that yet because we haven't been open. But once we do, we can really drill down. But for the meantime, we have about 132,000 total people. So we have plenty of people that we can communicate with based on income. If we want to hit about 33,000 of these people for $1,000, we can do that with a different dashboard and then transfer all of that data into here and start communicating with all of these different people. So I know where everybody is. We have them there. We can use a regular Excel spreadsheet, or I can hand this map over to you. But for $1,000, I think we hit 33,000 people. And what the email will tell them to go with is this one here. I think it's right here. And there it is. So we'll get this all ready to go. See, we can do both. So here's the Gecko Park Summer Camps 2018, along with the regular park announcing what's going on. Okay. And here's the card here. We tell them about the grand opening. We still have some issues with the card. We're not sure like when they're arriving. It's another couple weeks out. We don't want to go too early because we want people to maybe come in, pay, have the software already set up, collect the money, give them a receipt and give them a card. So, we don't have to do this like overnight. It's just ready to push the button. We have everything set up. I have the database. I have the analytics. I have all of this stuff set up. It's just that we just cut out the little ability for it to communicate. So when we're ready, we can send this to everybody. Now, past the 1,000 for 33,000, it's only $50 for 1,000. It's normally a couple $100 per 1,000. But I'm doing it pretty much close to at cost for Gecko because this is all pretty incredible stuff. No one has ever seen this kind of capability. So maybe we drive them in. See, this is kind of open. Maybe we want them to kind of come in a pre-launch, give you the money, you run it through the POS system and the software so they get the receipt, they get the card, and it shows what they have. So, maybe we don't. These are things we can all decide, but everything is now up and ready to go. So this is what we would send, a combo email. Now, I'd say we just go ahead and tell everybody about summer camps. As you know, I created 2 different campaigns. We could just do this one or just do the summer camps to the schools and to the people who are overlooking the clubs and all that kind of stuff. We have about 700 of them in Weston. And as we expand, I mean, we can go further, but we have a lot of business in Weston to bring in right now. So I would say, based on what we can afford, let's go $1,000 for 33,000. Let's add at $50 per. Do you realize that $50 per 1,000? That's very cheap. Out of 1,000 people, we're probably going to get a couple hundred of them that give you $50 to $100. I mean, very, very high ROI, okay, when you use this type of email. And email's proven. This is why Dunkin' Donuts, for example, is sending out 700 million emails in the first quarter. I mean, all of the big brands have done this, and their highest ROI over everything, over all of the social media, over all of the different targeting, all the different things Margot is doing. That it's great that she's doing that now, but what I'm talking about here has the highest ROI of anything. It's all set up and ready to go. We just got to decide what we want to spend. Um, you can let me know when you do these snail mail or guerrilla marketing techniques, because we could save you kind of a lot of money. There might be a better way to do that. Now, you don't have to do that. It's all up to you, of course. But this is all ready to go, and we will have all of these people sorted by their income and preferences and everything as we grow. So that's an introduction. I'll let you know more as we go. If you're interested, you can always call me. Thank you, John.